everyone, welcome back. It's Christina again with the Artist Pod, and today we'll be talking about how to draw whiskers. As always, I'm using a Wacom Mentos Pro tablet, and I'm drawing straight into Photoshop. So, let's get arting. Alright, so I very roughly drew out this cat because I just wanted to give you a quick idea of how to draw the whiskers, so I'm actually going to change that to white. So, when I talk about drawing whiskers, you're sort of clumping them right all in this section, typically on the animal, and you're moving your arm at the shoulder, kind of making these quick swipes. And so I'm hoping to show all of that, right? So I'm against my tablet and I'm going to make a swipe, and I'm just going to kind of cluster them up. And as I come up the nose, I'm going to angle that differently, right? Bringing that up. You can see I'm moving at my shoulder, shortening it out as I bring it down, but also bunching them up. You wouldn't have sort of one, right? Like I wouldn't have one going off by itself. Just like I also wouldn't have, you can see how hard that pin pressure was, right? Like if I'm putting full pin pressure, that's more what it's going to look like. You don't want to do that either. You want it to be pretty loose. And then as I bring it down, making that smaller. And as we bring it up, making them longer and sort of fanning out from the nose. And then whatever you do on one side, you do on the other. So if you have a bunch coming down, you need to mirror that on the other side, right? So we have a few coming down. So I'm going to do the same thing, just bunching that at the shoulder. Moving my whole arm. Doesn't matter if they're not exact what the other side is, but some need to be the same length, some need to come up just as high or as low. That was a bad one. That's probably fun. And then if you have any above, same thing, right? I'm going to move that shoulder, make a couple of swipes. Usually they have like a couple of little swipes above. Depending on the animal, sometimes they'll have, lines going through the eyes. That's fine. Just make sure you do it on both sides. And then, again, it's just, I'm sort of moving it there, but you can kind of see, right, they're kind of clustered up in the same way. Gives the effect it's the same animal, and that it's whiskers coming off. So pretty quick and easy to do. Doesn't really take a lot of effort. I find it the easiest to move at the shoulder in this case, and to sort of have that hinge as you're drawing it, to create the full effect. Even if there's some wobble in it, typically that's okay. If the wobble's too big, right, like if I end up with something doing that, obviously I would go back. I don't want that. But as long as it's roughly this kind of, not really semicircle, but partially rounded shape, that's going to be good enough. And then just light pin pressure. You don't have to put a lot of pressure here at all, especially because you're going to want to bunch some of them up, right? Like you're going to want them to sort of cluster together because they're going to have multiple whiskers coming off and sort of jamming together in the way those whiskers kind of work. And not like a singular strand going, from bottom to top. You wouldn't have these singular strands. You would have these clusters of whiskers as they sort of move up and follow that angle, right? And then when I'm talking about, angling that differently, right, we're going down and then we're sort of coming up to the side and then slowly going up as we clear that, right? So we start off going down here, and then as we go up the nose, we angle these whiskers differently. So by the time we're coming up over here, they're coming off in this direction as opposed to this direction. So, keeping that in mind as well as you bring it up. But that's not that hard to do. Just sort of keep it in mind as you're rounding around the nose. Think about how the whiskers would be then coming up higher and higher. But even though here we're at the top, right, we're near the top of that section, it's not going through his eye. So, sort of paying attention to how animals' whiskers work. Some animals, smaller animals, they'll have whiskers kind of coming up a little bit more extremely. Cats, not as much. They're likely going to be aimed a little bit more down, and when cats get flustered or ready to fight, their whiskers tend to splay out, and so they'll be aimed down a little bit more. So, just sort of things to consider as you're drawing. Different animals can look a little differently, but relatively easy to do. So, I hope that's helpful. Alright, so that is how you draw whiskers. I hope that was helpful. In the floating nether next to me, I have other videos of art tutorials I have done, and I will see you all soon. Thank you so much. Take care.